Hello, and welcome to the Oshkosh. I'm your host, Timber Smith. Yes, another week, another great guest, and another week that was really awesome. So, I'm just going to start off the show. Usually I say a little something about what's going on this morning. Because, we record in the mornings. And this morning, what I want to say is last night was amazing. Got a chance to go to Oshkosh's Jazz Fest. And the vibe, oh my God, the vibe of Jazz Fest was just so amazing. It felt good. Like people were just enjoying themselves. People were dancing in the streets on Main Street. You could sit in your lawn chair. You saw people that you maybe haven't seen in a while. Like there was a really good community of people that were out. And I just want to give a shout out right away, right off the bat, to whoever those organizers were of Oshkosh's Jazz Fest. Y'all did a great job. Y'all made it feel real good. And I know that the weather didn't necessarily agree with y'all. And y'all had to move in and out. But I still think it was amazing at the end of the day. So shout out to Oshkosh's Jazz Fest. Okay, we are going to, we're not going to waste time. And let me just say what I always have to let y'all know. And I don't know. I don't know why I get such amazing guests. It just is what it is. I get amazing guests, and this week is no different. So this week's guest is... Oh, we're going to do that again. Angie Lee. Yes, these mess ups happen every once in a while. Angie, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. I got the double horn.
You got the double horn. Well,
One and a half.
1.5. Well, that just means that you're a guest and a half better.
There you go.
I like that. All right. And we're going to do something really different this morning to kick off the show. So, Angie, please.
Timber, thank you. It's great to be here. I'm so flattered and honored and humbled. I'd like to start this podcast with a land acknowledgement, and it's something that the DEI committee for the city does to start each meeting. And we introduced that last year as a way to symbolize and acknowledge the lands that we inhabit. And so I'm not going to read the one that we do through DEI, but just kind of out of a genuine place of gratitude. So, Timber, we're gathered here on the lands that were originally inhabited by the Menominee and the Ho-Chunk nations. We're so deeply grateful for their stewardship, their wisdom, the way they've loved and cared for this land. We also acknowledge that there are repercussions and hardships that have come from settler colonialism, and those are very complex. But we commit to practices that move towards a healing of this land and our relationship with this land and each other.
Yes, that sets the energy for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is fantastic. Okay, we Kosh listeners, I think we might have to keep the land acknowledgement. And I think this is something we have to work on. But I'm gonna reach out right away to the Kosh community. If I have anyone, our Native American brothers and sisters who would like to be the person to come and record our land acknowledgement, and we'll put it in the show, every show. I would love that. So,
Thank you.
It's out there. Think about it. Holler at me, thekosh@gmail, or askthekosh@gmail.com. All right.
Timber, can you imagine if every city meeting or gathering started with a land acknowledgement? What good that would do for a community?
I just think I'm a very energy-based spiritual person. And so I just think it sets the energy right. There's something to be said for that. And good things happen when there is good energy and balance. in the world. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I think it would be
brother.
I think it would be fantastic. That's why I'm like, okay, you know what? I never thought about it, and so I just think this would be a spectacular way to kick it off, to set the energy for the show. For the Kosh listeners, I just think it's important. So I appreciate it more than you know. All right, we are going to. Are you? Well, you know what? Let me just say this first. The Kosh is a podcast that spotlights people who have had an association with Oshkosh or the surrounding Fox Cities region. Angie, can you please tell us a little something about yourself and what's your connection to the Kosh?
Yeah. I moved here in 2015. My co-partner had a job interview at UWO in the Department of Sociology.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah. And, he did well on the job interview. And then we came and looked for housing, and we were at Beckett's having dinner, and it was a total yes for me. And I was like, this is going to be my new place. So I moved here from Champaign, Illinois, where I lived for 17 years. And before that, I grew up in the north suburbs of Chicago.
Bruh.
Yes. Okay.
So I only learned of the term fib. It feels like a bad word. When I moved here. So, I see how us Illinois people are viewed.
Yeah, I don't get no mercy. Look, I love people from Illinois, but my beef with people from Illinois is y'all drive wild. Y'all on the highway, like y'all be doing a straight 85 and not even blinking an eye about it. Like
in the parking lot, that's where people are the most vicious. It's like people will stalk a spot, and they'll okay, first you have to put your blinker on, and to claim that spot, and then you inch forward, and it's intense. Like people be fighting for parking in Chicago.
We had someone who kind of broke down why Chicago driving is what it is, and they explained that they are taught to drive offensively.
Yes, aggressively.
Yes, yeah. And I didn't know. I'm gonna be honest. I do. I'm trying to remember. Was that Denitra? It might have been Denitra. Shout out to Denitra. But when she said it, I was like, it makes too much sense. I get it now. I get exactly why it is. So my new pledge is when I see Illinois plates, I'm getting ready. I'm getting offensive too.
You're on the offense.
That's right.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I fell in love with Oshkosh the first night that I was here, and it was a total yes for us. And ever since we've moved here, I've just been so grateful to be in this community. I love this community so much.
Yeah. Okay. And so how long has it been now again?
Okay. So this will be 7 years.
7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I'm still learning so much about the culture here. The way people who have grown up in Oshkosh, the way they view it versus maybe some of us newcomers.
Right.
It's a totally different experience. And so, okay, when I lived in Champaign, I was kind of there while there was this transformation happening in the community. And just like suddenly we had an influx of, it's always been a diverse campus, but just like the influx with the different developments and research, we had an influx of international professionals, and so just it went through this like transformation. I was there for it, and suddenly like our downtown was booming, and like housing was just bustling, and
right.
I got to witness that. And so when I moved to Oshkosh, I felt that for here. I really feel like we're at the beginning of something, like some big unfolding.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Me too.
And we get to experience it. We get to be part of it.
Yes, it is. As someone who's kind of been here for a long time now, and watching the transformations, I do think there's smart planning happening.
I would agree.
And it's appreciated that it's because this is a wonderful place to be and a wonderful place to live. And I just think there's very smart planning for the future and the growth, because there's no way that there's not going to be growth here.
Agreed.
So,
And when you look at the people, like the organizations, the groups, the individuals who are all part of this, it's like, how can it not be amazing, right? When you just look around at the people in our community.
Oh, yeah. Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
For sure. I love the people here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask, what did you do prior to coming here?
Prior to Oshkosh?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was living in Champaign, Urbana, I was teaching. So I did grad school. I did my undergrad at University of Illinois Champaign. I did my graduate studies there. And then I started my PhD there because I, at one point, thought I'd go into academia. But while I was in grad school, I was teaching at an elementary school for 4 years, and then I taught middle school for 4 years, and then I went back to elementary school, but in a different position as a Spanish literacy teacher. And and so, and with the timing of like the birth of my first child, it worked out beautifully, and the schools were willing to work with me and my schedule. It was pretty ideal.
All right. Are you still teaching?
No, I'm not. I'm not. My last, I taught, when I moved to Oshkosh, I taught for 2 years in Nina, and that was an experience. I have stories.
Oh, you have stories. Okay. We'll talk offline.
And when my son was born, I decided to take some time off. Okay. And so I never went back to teaching in the schools, but I'm really interested in still being a part of the conversations happening with the schools here, and to advise and represent and support in whatever way. But during the pandemic, I got to homeschool my children and another family's children, and that was amazing. It was like everything I've ever wanted to do as a teacher, I got to do, and it was just like flexible and fluid and just like nature-based. Oh, it was like a beautiful, our Grove School is what we called it. It was pretty magical.
I heard a couple of sets of parents who did something similar to that, and that just seems like for what was going on at that time, that just seemed like a really good thing to keep your kids up to speed and focused, because that's such a huge transition to just go virtual, like boom, virtual.
Yeah. I'm here, I'm not.
And our educators, they had enough on their plates, with lesson plans, and it was constantly changing, and they had to change things on the line or on the dime. And so I just think I commend educators all the time.
Oh yeah. I've reserved a special spot on my shout outs for the teachers.
Always.
Heroes.
Okay. All right. So, you know what? Now that you say you used to teach in Nina, there is change happening in Nina. And I do believe in their school system, and there's things they're trying to do to recognize the changing demographics that are happening in Nina. And I can't say for sure, but I do know they have some people hired in positions, and there is like, I'm not saying they're knocking it out of the park and changing everything around, but there is a recognition and an understanding, and at least an acknowledgement like that we've got to work at this, because our city's changing quickly.
Yeah. To Nina's credit, when I applied in 2015 to teach there, they were already having conversations around growth mindset, around neuroplasticity, and our ability to change kids' minds, literally. They understood that. And so that was really cool to be a part of that. But also, I think this is a beautiful story, so I'll just share it. So when I started teaching at Nina Middle School, or at Horace Mann Middle School, I saw a need for a safe space for the LGBTQA population there. And I talked to some people, and they were really hesitant. They were like, Angie, you can't you can't do that. Like, you can't have the word gay out there. You can't have the word lesbian out there. Like, what if these kids get to know, what if they start understanding these words? And so you have to kind of meet people where they are, right? You can't go from like someone who is afraid to use the word gay to like this super progressive space where well, maybe what I'll say is like you have to kind of play their game and meet them where they are. And so what it was just like a safe space for kids during lunchtime, for them to come and just hang out. Nothing too disruptive, I guess, is what a good word for it. But so there was a lot of hesitancy. I got a little bit of flack, but I'll say that the superintendent recognized the need for that and acknowledged that and thanked me for creating that space. And by the end of the year, you know, like a lot of the people that were hesitant were a lot more open and saw the need. And so I commend them for, you know, being open-minded to maybe practices that they're not used to. And, you know, I think it was a good, it was a really good experience for me too. And then I have other stories, but yeah, I want to highlight that story.
No, that's awesome. Change happens slow in the northeast region.
Yeah.
Change does not happen fast. Well, in pockets, there's certain places that change can happen a little quicker, just because of the mindset. So, you know, every one of these cities has its own culture to it, and they move at the pace that they're comfortable with and they're used to. But I do think there's more acknowledgement and understanding about some of the things that need to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my observation right now. And now people are seeking out people to help them figure that out. Yeah.
So how does that make you feel when, because you're someone who gets sought out?
It's been known to happen.
Bruh.
So do you find it to be a burden, or do you find it to be like purposeful and like, okay, I'm equipped for this?
I don't think you're ever fully equipped, but I definitely don't consider it a burden. I consider it, I'm a person that believes that you walk your talk and you can't just complain. Like, I'm a firm believer, like if everybody's complaining about the coach that's coaching your kids, you got to be willing to go coach those kids. I actually, when I first got into doing a little recreation soccer coaching for my daughter, it was because, you know, there's a lot of there was opinions, is what we will say, about the coaching or the coach at that time. And it was like, you know what, I'm not going to talk smack if I'm not willing to get out here and coach and be that person. So I did. And I feel the same way about making changes. I do believe fundamentally that the people in this region come from a really good place. And that you have to have that understanding that regardless of what they don't know and ignorance and biases and all of those things, at the end of the day, fundamentally, they're coming from a good place and they want a good community. And if I can help, I am.
Yeah.
Every time. If you call me, we will find a way to make time, and the conversation will be what it is. And I'll meet you where you're at. I'm not mad at where you're at. I'm not going to judge where you're at. We're going to talk. Now, you may not like everything I got to say, but I may not like everything you got to say. And the key is that I start from a place of, but your intent is to do good things for our community.
Yes.
And so I can roll with that.
Okay. I completely agree. I'm like just applauding and clapping inside myself. Thank you. That's what makes you so amazing, Timber, is that you rise to the call each time. And,
I try.
And it's not to say that this work isn't burdensome and it's heavy, but but I also see it as like I get to participate in this, right? I get to be a part of it. And for myself, it's learning boundaries now, because I think because I'm in this space, and people know that I'm a yes person, like I get asked for everything.
Yeah, you do. Once you're known and they know, and you're good, right? There's something to that. There's a wrong way to do the work. But when they know that you're good, you're going to get asked all the time. And that's, it's cool. Like, say no where say no where you have to. The work is so personal. Like, it's not like any other thing. Like, you're so fundamentally connected to the work. Particularly when you're a person of color doing this work, it's different, right? It's not some idea in a book kind of thing. Like, you're fundamentally living it while you're trying to help others understand it, and you're trying to be a good practitioner.
And in my practice, it's always thinking about how in that moment I can connect with that person, that even if we have had completely different lived experiences, what is the bridge? What bridges am I building here? What connections that even if I can't fully understand where you're coming from,
right,
there's some idea or something that still brings us together. But I agree. Yeah, people, and I think that's what I fell in love with here is like, I genuinely feel like people love this community and are showing up in their own ways for this community. And it is, I feel the energy of it, and I get it. Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to jump into the first segment. We went hard.
It's going to be a long one.
No, that's okay. You know what? This happens. There's no time limit on the Kosh. You know what? It is just quality content for our listeners and for the community.
Yeah. And Timber, this is our first conversation, like, one-on-one conversation. So yeah. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be sitting down and talking to you.
I just want to thank you for making this time. So first segment is called What in the World is Going On With? And what in the world is going on with is you start with that phrase and you tell us what's on your mind. So.
Okay. What in the world is going on with quiet quitting?
Bruh. Ooh, I don't know. Look, I saw the article, but I don't know if a lot of people know what it is. So break it down.
All right. So I guess, so a video went viral on TikTok. And that video was of this guy just kind of narrating his perspective on work, right? So it's not about quitting your work, but it's about quitting that hustle mentality, hustle culture mentality of like, I have to go above and beyond. I have to, work hard to be successful, or I have to, exceed expectations. So quiet quitting is a way of maybe even just a rebellious act. I don't know, is it rebellious or is it a form of self-care that says like, I'm enough, like I do enough. And I think it's more in that like corporate culture of like, I don't need to enslave myself to this. So I don't, like I'm not picking sides here or anything, but I'm just like really fascinated by that, like of what, how this might change the conversation on like what it looks like as we show up for work, and my biggest question is this a great momentum towards like self-care and like work-life balance?
I think it's generational. Like our generations, if you really, if you go and do research about what do our generations, these new generations care about compared to our older generations or more mature generations care about. Like it's the newest people coming into the workforce, they care about their work-life balance. They care about personal time. They do self-care. They care about feeling appreciated in the work that they do. Where I do feel, and I feel like I'm in that middle generation where I've had a bit of both. or had the opportunity to experience a bit of both, where the other generation was like, you're lucky to have a job. And I don't think this generation feels like that. They don't feel lucky to have a job. They're saying, you're lucky to have me.
Yeah.
And so that just changes what the conversation is, right? Now, I'm super humble, and I do feel lucky to have a job, every day. So every day I feel grateful to have the jobs that the opportunities that I've been given. But in the same sense, you only get one shot at this thing of life. And I do want to make sure that I'm not throwing away my opportunity, my time that was meant for me and my family and the people I love and my friends, by just constantly grinding.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think I'm in that middle spot too, where I'm shifting from a place of like, I have to work to survive, to I want to really find joy in what I do, and I want to find purpose and find fulfillment. And I think what an amazing, place of history that we're in, that our children, that for them work will be about creating, about, like even more passionate about what they do. And I see that as an evolution for us, and an evolution in our society and in our communities, that our children are able to do that. And yeah, super exciting. Again, oops, sorry, I totally shook the table.
Oh, no worries. All right. What in the world is going on with? And I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off, because I feel like this one could go a little hard. But what in the world is going on with is, what in the world is going on with the animosity towards student loan relief?
Yeah.
Bruh. No, I'm not having it. I'm not trying to hear it. I'm tired. I'm tired of people, like, let's be honest. There is no government program that is meant for everyone. It's just not that. And we, as the government, they pick and choose where they give this money away. A lot of times there's a lot of money given to those who already have money and affluency. This is one of those few times I feel like this is for one of the few times, like they picked a program where they're giving back, and people are, my taxes and my taxpayer dollars, and I didn't go to school. What difference does that make? It's for the good of society. People that went to school were trying to become better people. They were trying to become better, productive people. They were trying to be more helpful. And, there's definitely flaws in the higher ed system. I don't want to call it broken, but I do want to say, like, the whole loan cost debt thing, like, I just feel like we could figure out some better ways to do this. But what's wrong for us to help those people out? I just don't get it. We've given big businesses, we've bailed out entire industries, we've done this, we've done that, but for something for the people, literally people, everyday Americans who went to school, right? Because let me be clear about that, because here's the thing. If you were not, let's say, let's just say the financial aid process for you to get federal money, there is definitely, like, not just any and everybody could get it. Like, if you were not I don't know if citizen is the perfect word to say, but I do believe, like, not just anyone can get it, right? So don't try to play this game like we're just giving away random monies or anything like that. Like, these were people that qualified for federal grants, and that's not an easy process in its own right.
Right.
And then, what are you complaining about? Seriously, you know good and well this money was already given. Right. So no, your taxes aren't going up. because all they're doing is wiping out the money that they lent out already. And we do this stuff all the time. We give money to all sorts of stuff, foreign countries, for this, that, and another, so we can maintain good relationships. All of this stuff. I never understand why the American people, certain people, choose to complain when we do something for our own. It hurts my soul. Like, I'm not, and here's the thing. I made the mistake. I moved my loans. Like, I would love this, and I'm not even going to be one. I'm paying mine off because I moved my loans from the federal, and I refinanced somewhere private because of the interest rate. Mm-hmm. So, like, this isn't even something I'm benefiting from personally, but I'm supporting those who do. Why not? Yeah. It's for a better America. Right. Just quit griping. I don't understand. Like, I'm frustrated by it. And I'm going to tell you now, I welcome the conversation with anyone who wants to have it. And I am so serious about that. If you want to have that conversation, come on the show, askthekosh@gmail.com, come have a cocktail with me. Whatever you want to do, I welcome it. But be prepared. That's all I'm going to say. This is one of the few things that I am fired up about because I just think it's ridiculous. We give so much money to so many other things and no one says anything. Right? So many other things. People who already have money. I'm not trying to hear it. If you want these problems, I'm welcome to have that conversation. I'm just saying, I'm not just going to. That is honestly where I'm coming from. Yeah. So.
All right. I think you've said everything for me too on that. But it's that mentality of like, I pick myself up from my bootstraps. Why can't you? Like, I don't get people like that of like, I've done this. And it's like, they don't understand that their circumstances were completely different, that there's, like just like cycles of generational wealth, all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, man.
Look,
yeah.
And my other thing is youthful people making decisions financially who don't know any better at the time. Yeah, there is some of that. And people are like, well, you should know. Don't take a loan out if you got to pay it back. Blah, 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 blah. You know what? Last time I checked, there's some people who took out some PPP loans and they didn't have to pay that back. And that was in the hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. But I'm not going to, I digress.
Yeah.
But more importantly, there was a lot of people at the time. There's such a focus on higher ed being your way out and up, right? And if you come from a family who never had money, you don't necessarily always understand. All you know is this dream of I'm going to school. I'm going to be a better citizen. I'm going to be a better resident. I'm going to be a better person of society, and I'm going to add value by getting this education. And I don't know anyone who goes to higher ed, both sides, whether you're teaching it or you're a student in it, who doesn't have a dream for better things.
Right.
And their dreams are what makes us a better society.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
Bruh.
I just had to say what I had to say. I've been on this kick because there's been people out here who are in their feelings about it. And you know what? Me too. I'm in my feelings too.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. We are ready for the next segment. The next segment is word association. This is your opportunity to, I'm going to say a word and you tell us what comes to your mind. All right. And first word always is food.
Love.
Oh.
Bruh.
Break it down.
Yeah. Food has this amazing capacity to transport us, right? And I think when I say love, it's like that energy. Like, do you also, Timber, you're a foodie, right? Can you taste love?
Yes.
Food? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like that loving, tender, nurturing of the food, of the plants, right? That then is medicine for us. So healing would be like a second word. I would choose family, my mom.
Yes.
Yeah. Food is my
I
mom.
I instantly went to grandma. Like grandma and food, like that's expert level stuff. And grandma never took shortcuts with it.
Right.
She did whatever was taught to her, whatever she learned along the way. That's how she made it. I ain't never had a grandma meal that was ever different. Yeah. And I ain't never had a grandma meal that was fast.
I think the slow preparation of food is, I think foods that take a longer time to make taste better. And that's why I love kimchi and fermented foods, because there's a process to it and it evolves as it's being made. And that's why I think it's healing.
Facts.
Oh, I could talk about food all day. I love food. I love all foods.
Yeah. I look, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
There's just it's the unifying factor.
Yeah.
As us as people. I'm always like, if you truly want to like build rapport with someone, break bread with them.
Yes, that's the exact phrase I was thinking of too. Like Jesus broke bread, right? When you think of like the Last Supper, there was food involved.
Yeah.
The symbolism of it.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
Cocktail or beer?
Both.
Oh, yeah.
Bruh.
I love all things spirits.
Bruh.
I'm spiritual like that.
Oh my God, that's so good. That should be a t-shirt.
I love beer. I love the fizziness. I love how in the summer especially, I love the process, the fermentation. I love cocktails and all the varieties. And I'm gonna brag here a little bit and say I make some really good cocktails, Timber, and I like to like add some kombucha in there and some shrub and make it like healthy.
What?
Healthy cocktails.
I'm intrigued now.
Okay.
Kosh listeners, you know me, and when I hear things that I need to experience, I just go ahead and ask. I need an invite.
All
I need
right.
an invite.
I wanted to make you a cocktail for this morning. And I was like kind of debating between like a really healthy Bloody Mary, like with maybe like some beet juice and ginger, but I didn't have enough time. I'm sorry.
No.
But this is a good open invitation for next time.
Okay.
All
No,
right.
it's thrown down.
All right.
I need this healthy Bloody Mary.
I know where you live now,
Facts.
so I can drop it off.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like a drive-by drop off, cocktail drop off.
Oh my God, and only in Wisconsin. That's so good. All right, Kosh listeners, you heard it here first. And when I get the opportunity to try this, I'm reporting back on the next episode.
All right. What about you? Cocktail or beer?
Oh, no. Always cocktails. Kosh listeners know Timber is a vodka, and not just any vodka. Right now, it's a Grey Goose and seltzer. Right now, I've kind of moved over to Tito's and seltzer, but it's always a vodka and a seltzer.
All right.
I try to keep it clean. The body knows. The body knows. Okay. Next word, streaming.
All right. So about once a month, I'll say aloud, I need to watch more TV. I could never participate in conversations when people are talking about like the latest shows because I have no idea. I really need to try to watch more TV. But when I do, I watch it with my children. And there's this Netflix show that I'm really into called Eden, which is also the name of my business. And so it's a Japanese anime. It's only 4 episodes. So I've watched the first 3 and there was a major like plot twist. And I'm so hooked. I'm really into like epic kids shows, like The Last Airbender was like so good. And The Dragon Prince, I think. And because like I love stories, right? And
Yes.
I think kids shows do such an amazing way of like capturing those archetypes and the plots. And and in a way that feels safe still because it's for children. And I think that's probably like the level of suspense I can take.
That's the level, huh?
Bruh.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but then also I'm really into podcasts. So I think whatever I would be watching in TV, I spend a lot of time with headphones on listening to podcasts.
What's your favorite? What are you listening to right now?
Okay, so my favorite ones are On Being with Krista Tippett. She kind of talks about, she interweaves like spirituality into like big ideas and big topics, and brings in just a really curated, beautiful list of guests who are experts in their field, yet like have intersections with other fields, and then kind of marries in spirituality into that. So really, I don't know, I really enjoy that podcast On Being. But also Oprah. I love Oprah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Super Soul Sundays.
I'd listen to that one too.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about Oprah, but like Oprah is in tune.
Oh, for sure. She's vibrating at like the highest level.
Yes, facts.
You know, I was once on the Oprah show.
What?
Yeah.
What? And you just saying that now?
Yeah. So, do you want to hear the story?
Bruh.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so I'm a big fan of Oprah, right? And so this was like in my late 20s, and I just came across on her website a call for Sarah Jessica Parker's biggest fan. So there was like an open essay of like, explain why you're Sarah Jessica Parker's biggest fan, and you can have a chance to win a spot on her episode. Do you know who Sarah Jessica Parker is?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was just watching Sex and the City, the movie yesterday, the second one.
Okay. I don't want to diverge too much, but Sex and the City was a transformational show for me.
Okay.
Just like opened my eyes. So, okay, back to, so I wrote a little essay about how Sex and the City and her character in particular just really disrupted some old narratives I had around sex and feminism, and then I won a spot. So when Sarah Jessica Parker came on, she was launching at the time like her own clothing and accessories line, and I got to model it.
What?
Bruh.
Seriously?
Yeah, but it was a surprise. I thought I was going as a guest to just get to watch the show, and then Oprah called me up. So she said my name. Oprah said my name.
Whoa. Yeah. Oh my God, you gave me goosebumps.
I'm a different person because she said my name.
Look, Oprah, like I'm a super Oprah fan. Like, Oprah, that's larger than life to me.
Yeah, she's got a presence.
She's got a presence. Okay. And now we're just gonna wrap up the show. No. That's such a good narrative. So good. Okay. Wow. I don't even know how do we top that. All right.
What are you into? What are you watching?
Okay. So they just did the final episode of Only Murders in the Building, and that's on Hulu. It's this quirky show with Steve Martin and Martin Short and Selena Gomez, and they're podcasters, which is part of the reason I'm super fascinated with them. And they're podcasting while they're trying to solve the murder, and they're wrapped into it some kind of way, right? Because they're involved. And you wouldn't think like those three people, like the chemistry of those three people would make sense. Like when you look at it on paper, you're like, huh? But when you watch it, it's so good. So that's been like, that's my Friday happiness. Like when I get done with my day, my week, I come home, my wife knows, all right, I want to eat a little something, I want to have a cocktail, and I want to watch Only Murders in the Building. The only sad thing is I just watched the last episode. So they do it in usually a season for them. I want to say it's 10. I think it's 10 episodes. So just wrapped it up, and yeah. You should check that out if you've never seen it.
All right. I jotted it down.
All right. Okay. Shop local.
Yeah. So since I love this community, this is important for me, right? So I would say shop local. For me, the associations are Oshkosh Food Co-op, NDC, which said that they closed their downtown location. But then also just like thinking about supporting the local services, like lawyers and photographers and graphic designers and artists. Like who from our local economy can we support in obtaining services?
Yes. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Do we got any favorites? We got a favorite local service?
Megan Bartelt. She's an acupuncture. She does acupuncture at Bartelt Holistic Health.
Oh. Okay.
And so, what's great about that is in my, I've been getting acupuncture all my life, right? And so in my mind, the picture of an acupuncturist is like an elder Asian person. And like Megan totally disrupts that. And I love that.
Oh, okay.
So I love, so like I mentioned, like I love stories, right? I like think often in stories. And so I love meeting characters in my life that disrupt my old notion of like what that person needs to look like.
Right. What stereotypically you had in your mind.
Right.
You had a pre-picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm not going to lie. When I think of an acupuncturist, in my mind, I think of somebody who's probably a close cousin to a tattoo artist. With tattoos and piercings.
Wow. What a different picture.
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't even know why I think that. But, it's just in my mind, it's like, it just makes sense to me. It's a needle thing. I don't know. Yeah. And now there's some acupuncturists out there saying, they're shaking their head right now saying, Timber, you're ridiculous.
I love that. I love that we had completely different pictures in our heads.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Diversity.
Oh. Okay. So when I think of diversity, I think of expansion. Like, I think about how not two of us are alike in any way, right? So, or I should say, how do I phrase that better? We're all so unique, and there is no replica of me. There's no replica of you. We're our own individual people, and ever in history, like we're here and existing in this moment. So I think about expansion, like how the universe is expanding, right? And we're expanding in all the diverse fractals. So I think of diversity that way. But then we'll talk diversity later too, when it's my topic of the week.
All right. I love the term fractals.
Bruh.
Okay, I'm with it. Community.
Okay. Essential.
I like that.
So I think about how we've evolved in communities, right? Like it was part of our survival to be part of a community. And now it's still essential. Like we can't, if we're socially isolated, that has major negative health implications, right? So like they're finding that social connectedness is a big determinant in your wellness, in your health. And so community is essential. You need community to survive. You need community to grow and thrive. And I think the beauty of it is you can find community in anything, right? So like I can find community with just so many different groups of people, like mom friends, with professionals. In my DEI space, I find community in like in the art space, and just you can, like you don't have to have just one. You can, we're layered and complex, so you can have as many communities as you want. And yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. What about you?
What I was going to say, and what you made me think of, and what you were talking about is like, there's like research on people who lived to 100 or past 100, right? And they talk about the factors that these people share. And one of them is like a community, like this group that fundamentally you're really close to and have this relationship with, and it's part of your balance. It's part of what helps create your longevity. And so that's when you were talking about that, and you're talking about these different types of community, it just made me think like, yeah, if you can find that community where you feel safe, where you feel supported, you're only helping your mental health, your longevity, and then you can help society even better. So,
yeah, I think to piggyback on that, I think it's part of our nature and survival to be seen. And I think that's what community does. Is you feel seen, you feel heard, you feel valued, you feel like you count and matter.
Oh, yeah.
And I think those are just like basic social needs, basic emotional needs. I don't think we can thrive without those being met.
I think you're spot on. Yeah, agreed. Okay. That was awesome. Okay, that was really good.
All right, we're just warming up.
We really are. We're like halfway through the show. All right, I'll tell you what. We'll take a quick commercial break.
Hi, I'm Dawn Gulke, the Executive Director of Casa of the Fox Cities. Science proves that one consistent adult can change the story of a child. Could that one person be you? Become a court-appointed special advocate. Build a relationship with a child, help identify their needs, and give that child a voice in a process that can otherwise feel lonely. Contact us today. Children who have experienced abuse and neglect can't wait. Learn more about Casa of the Fox Cities at casafc.org or call Leah at 920-257-4733.
All right. We are on to the next segment, and the next segment is the Kosh Hidden Gems. Okay, Angie, what do you got?
Okay. I'm going to highlight two businesses that I'm really enjoying. The first one is Takiza. Yeah, their tacos.
Off the chain.
Yeah. And the little condiments that you get with that, like the cucumber and the radish and the lime. Yeah, that just cinches it for me.
They're just good.
They are.
Like I haven't gotten to go a lot, but and yeah, like I'm a taco addict. I got taco problems because I don't know what it is about a good taco, but it makes you happy. Yeah. I've never had like a taco. Like if it's a good taco, it just makes me happy. There's just something about a quality taco that just says, "Hey, right now we're gonna make you happy as you can be," and I am. So
for sure, I agree. Oh my God, yes, I love that. Like all cultures have this, like that same combination of like something like meat filled, like in something wrapped, right? Like, yes. And some little veggies and pickles on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, tacos. Woo.
Okay.
And a second one is that Mediterranean grocery store on Murdoch. So if you are lucky enough to ever get their lahamanouche, and I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but it's like flatbread with like some red sauce and veggies, and it's so delicious. But it's a hidden gem. Like I never know when they're making it and whether I'm gonna get it that night. It's like a lottery.
Oh, so like it's not a consistent.
No,
it's just every once in a while.
Yeah.
Okay, we're working on them. or they might be a guest.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yes.
okay. Say that again. How do you say
Oh, Lahamanouche.
La Hamanouche? Okay, I just want to know because I'm about that life. I want to be able to walk in there and I'm gonna be like La Hamanouche, and I want them to look a little crazy at me for trying to say it right because I know I'm gonna slaughter it. But then I want to say it right enough that they're like, I know what you're saying, and we got you.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Timber, I am so like tickled, and I just love it when people try to speak Korean to me.
Oh,
Right. So like you could take it two ways, right? Like you could be like, like, why are you trying to speak my language? Like you're not a native, but I always see it as like, that's really sweet. Like they're trying to cross a bridge, probably uncomfortable. Probably, you're like making yourself vulnerable by speaking a language that that you don't know. So anytime anyone like speaks Korean to me, like I love it. It's like an instant like, oh my God, let's connect.
well, to make that effort, it shows you care.
Yeah.
Right? It's automatic. There's no ill intent in trying to do it. Yes, you're gonna screw it up. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. If you've listened to this show, I screw up more people's last names, and those are American. So I mean, it's just the way it goes. But you know what? They know I try. They know there is no ill will, and that's just part of the learning process.
What if everyone kind of like the way you give, the way we're gracious with each other about like mistakes? Like, what if we all just interacted like that of like, hey, you're just trying to, find some commonality with somebody, and you always give somebody that, just that notion and understanding that we're all just trying.
But isn't that, I feel like that's one of those rules. Like that's what we're supposed to do. Like we all grow up knowing no one's perfect.
Yeah.
Right. And if no one's perfect, then we should know that we have to give grace in those places of not being perfect. So that's just how I look at it. Like it comes both ways. Like if you're going to acknowledge, hey, we're not perfect, you got to say to yourself, I'm going to be a person that gives grace when I run into others' imperfections, as long as the intent is a good one.
Yeah. I think intent can go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next segment. What's the Kosh need?
Okay. So for the last 4 years, I've been dreaming and visualizing of
Bruh.
So when I do spend active time visualizing, and Oshkosh is often at the epicenter of those visualizations. And so what I visualize is this like, I mean, we're currently are a thriving community, but just like maybe like the next evolution of Oshkosh. I've been dreaming of this like community space. So like a public space where obviously anyone is welcome, and there are facilities that really support the community, and like having like a wellness component to it, where we're serving foods that are nourishing and healthy to our bodies. There's classes on financial wellness and, holistic wellness and mental wellness. A space where parents, like professionals, can go and work while maybe their children are being cared for in the same facility, right? So like I think about all those hurdles with people, especially women, who want to enter the workforce, but their primary priority at the time is childcare, and sometimes that childcare can be a barrier. So a co-working space with childcare there, and like a library, and like a learning center. And I don't know, I know, like I've heard people say like, well, you have to focus on what this community center is, but I think it can be all the things for what we need. And I love the idea of like the dynamic components of it. And
I think there's a model for that in the Fox Cities region.
Ooh.
Kinda.
Tell me more.
The Goodwill that Goodwill that's located, I think it's Menasha. I never know if it's Nina or Menasha or but there's a Goodwill that has like they do financial literacy out of there. They have health, community health, right there. A lot of nonprofits are offered office space, or several. I shouldn't say a lot. I should say several nonprofits are offered office space there. And so, yeah, it's not exactly what you're talking about, but it's a model which could be. And the good thing is, like, since it's based from Goodwill, who's already reputable, right, and connected in serving the community, period. No matter who you are, rich, poor, immigrant, or citizen, or resident, or whoever, the Goodwill serves them all. So there is a local model-ish about what you're thinking, but maybe not with all of the some of the more specific intricacy things that would be really helpful that are needed.
Yeah. Okay, so where I see some of these spaces coming up is churches. Like, I think our churches, some of the ones that are vacated or not being used, I think churches can be the new community spaces.
I like that. I like the new community spaces where, like, they're think tanks, where, like, entrepreneurs can go to kind of kick off and get started, or nonprofits can go and have an office space to work from outside of their home to kick their things off. I like those kind of models that are being created in some communities.
Yeah, like bringing together people from all different fields. And
right.
Yeah, I think there's really good synergy that can happen by bringing diverse people. Imagine that, diverse.
I love that word, synergy. Yes. Okay. Next segment, the Naughty/Heroes Corner. This is your opportunity to nominate something, someone, whatever. It doesn't have to be a person. It's whatever you want it to be, to the Naughty or the Heroes Corner. What do you got, Angie?
Yeah. So I'm going to nominate some personal heroes, and those are the Grinds. So James and Geraldine Grind, who go by Papa Jimmy and Cha-Cha affectionately. So Jim was a music professor for many years, and Jerry was a music teacher in Oshkosh Public Schools. So they moved here in like over 50 years ago, and have been married for over 50 years. And Jerry is native Hawaiian, Japanese. And so when I think about, when I've heard stories about how the discrimination that she faced when she first moved here,
right,
and at the time that they were married, their marriage was illegal in Wisconsin because they were an interracial couple. Ooh. And so I think about just the different trials and tribulations that they faced and how they overcame them with such with such grace and love for this community, their love for music, education, and they have been pivotal in the Oshkosh Youth Symphony. And their daughters, who are dear friends of mine, Yukiko and Miyoko, are still continuing that legacy of music education in this community. And just an amazing family, the Grinds.
The Grinds.
Yeah.
Okay. Music is too important.
Yeah.
Like, music is like, I feel like right next to food as far as a unifier. Like, we all have music we enjoy, and like, let Jazz Fest be the example. When there is great music, people dance. Yeah. People just dance, and it's a good feeling, and it's warm. And I love that. Okay. Shout out to the Grinds. Awesome. Okay. Now, we're at that time. I didn't even realize we were going hard. You realize how hard we've been going? We've been going hard. But you know what? It is that time of the show. Every time I play that, it makes me smile. I do not know why, but it is time for the topic of the week. And most of the time, I used to say every time the topic of the week is chosen by our guest, but I'm not going to lie. I think my last episode, I chose the topic of the week. So that has to happen sometimes if we miss the opportunity to connect and have a communication. But this week's topic of the week is definitely chosen by our guest. So Angie Lee, what is our topic of the week?
Timber, I struggled to pick a topic of the week. There's so many things I'm passionate about. But
you ain't got to pick one, girl.
Well, okay. And when it came down to it, I chose DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, because I think that's what I'm maybe most versed in right now. That's what I'm most immersed in.
You are immersed.
I am immersed.
Okay, let's go.
And so are you. So we need to, this is going to be a good conversation. So diversity, equity, inclusion. So I'm on the city committee. I'm currently serving as chair. And so the committee started in the summer of 2020, right?
Yes.
And Timber, you were one of the original members of the committee. And so when I think of diversity, equity, inclusion, I think what I'd like to maybe give is just like my personal, like how I interpret it, how I live it, how I breathe it. And, so ultimately for me, I think diversity, equity, inclusion, and sometimes there's that belonging and access added onto that acronym. But I see it as like the lens by which we need to live, the framework by which we need to structure our policies, our intentions, our like how we do things has to be structured by that lens. Like if we were to break it down, like diversity for me, and I think the beauty is everyone has their own definition of maybe what diversity is. And so when you asked earlier, I said expansion. So I think of diversity as beautiful as like the way we're expressing ourselves individually and collectively, and how that's ever changing. And I see that as beautiful, and and we see that in nature, right? So I see a lot of parallels between diversity and nature. And I think every individual expression of a person, all the uniqueness of it is what makes diversity so beautiful.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. My definition of what diversity is now, I've gone to like I've streamlined it and simplified it, and maybe professionalized it, as if that's a word. And so for me right now, diversity for me is a metric to be measured. That's it. It's that simple. Like it's difference. And let's measure it. Like, because people are always like, when they talk about the work of DEI, and my belief is this: what you can't do with the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion is you can't measure it like it's some business metric, because it's based on feelings. It's based on how you feel. Because, that's really, if you take all of it and you go to a place of belonging is like, how do you feel? Do you either feel like you belong or you don't? And you can't corporatize that. You can't just come up with corporate metrics for it. So, but if you want to start measuring something because that's what you do and you need to report out to whoever you need to report out, then I think diversity is the perfect thing as a metric of measurement, because you either have it or you don't, and you choose to measure it. And there needs to be, like, people are always like, well, we can't measure it, so we don't know if you're successful. No, you're choosing not to measure it because your numbers look like crap. Let's be honest. So that's what really happens. It's not that you can't measure things. You just don't want the outcome of what that measurement is, and you're scrambling and you make excuses for what it is, why you're workforce, your team isn't more diverse, why you're not bringing more diverse voices into what you do. You want diverse money, but you can't ask for diverse money and you're not willing to make a reflective workforce. That's what I got.
Yeah, timber for sure.
I'm sorry.
No, nothing to apologize for. We're putting it all out there, right?
Yeah.
And it's both.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah. So, another thing I'll say about diversity is it's here. Like we're already, like I see Oshkosh as diverse.
Yes, absolutely.
When I think about my daughter who in fourth grade, her fourth grade class, it's a very diverse class, right? Yeah. And so in 10 years, Oshkosh is going to look so different.
From 10 years ago, it does already.
Right. So we're on a good trajectory.
Oh, the jack is out the box. You can't put it back now.
The diversity Pandora box.
We're changing. We're not changing. We've changed, right? And there has to be an acknowledgement of that. And I always think our school system is the perfect metric in which to show cultural change, right? Cultural diversity change. Because when I say diversity, I always like to expand that definition because a lot of times people go directly to race and culture things, right? And I don't. I expand diversity to be, I like crocheting.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't.
I like to fish. Things like that. Right. Like their diversity is just difference. It's literally just difference, and everyone's different. And the things they care about, what their identities are, who they are fundamentally at their core. But this conversation about race and culture is a good one to have. And like that fundamental metric, because I'm big on this, right? Because people always want some metric stuff. You got to look at the school system. What is the percentage, if you know, what is the percentage of students of color right now in the Oshkosh school system?
I don't know. I can tell you that in my daughter's class, it's about 30%.
It's 25.
Okay.
And that, when you think about that, right, that's amazing. I was just having a conversation with someone who grew up in Oshkosh here. And they're around my age category, and they were talking about like when they went to school, there literally was like 1-2 kids of color, and they probably were adopted. Like it was very, very few. And now to think that 1 out of 4, Appleton is 36%. So over 1 out of 3.
Yeah.
And what that also says is, those numbers will never go backwards.
Yeah.
They will only grow. So the community has to acknowledge that. Everything in the community, the business of the community, the services of the community, the government of the community has to acknowledge what is already happened and where it's going to continue to go.
Yeah. So how do we set up systems now, as we're preparing for that? And I think that's why we're involved in the work that we are in, because we're trying to set up those systems in a way that are equitable and inclusive.
I try to just have the conversations with people to say that they need to be thinking about the way that they do business, or the way that they function, or the way that they provide services, and that they have to acknowledge that these are facts. This isn't a guess. This isn't what I think is going to happen. It's happened, and it's going to continue to happen. That's the trajectory societally where we're headed. And all of the science tells you as such.
Fact.
So, let's not play games. You can either get ahead of things, or you can be chasing behind it and always I call it firefighting. When you're always trying to solve the next problem instead of getting ahead of it and addressing it so it never is a problem. And I think there's an opportunity. I don't think we've gotten so behind that we can't address things. We can't address our community, our changed community. I try to say I want to be very clear about saying it's changed already. So when you say it's changing, people think they still have time. Mm-hmm. No, time's up. Already changed.
Yeah.
1 out of 4.
It's here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. So Timber, like we're both in this space.
Right.
Like, so the work for me then is, like DEI intersects with everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Right. And I appreciate that you talk about metrics and how to measure. And we see in so many different sectors like business that when businesses are more diverse, that their creativity is boosted and the ideas that are coming out of those diverse teams
they're more profitable.
Right.
Period. It's dollars and cents.
At the end of the day, those businesses do better. So there's the business case for diversity. But, like, why personally, like, why do I crave diversity? Or, like, why? Because I think, as humans, we're made to want to expand. And when I sit down and talk with someone who is different from me, and that's everybody, right? Everyone's different. But when we can converse, like, my world is, like, opened up. And just, like, I've added like another character to this story, and this story then is like so much richer, and I have a little bit more of an understanding of like how you grew up and how that's different from mine, but then how we're still so similar and connected. So, and I love that. I love how that makes me feel. I love how it makes me feel like I'm growing and expanding and opening. So yeah, when we talk about energy, it's like, those are good vibes for me. Like when I'm meeting someone and it's like, man, we're vibing and we're jiving and connecting.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. So, well, you're doing the work. So my question to you is, how do you prepare the community for the change that's already happened? Where are those spaces that you think there's opportunity to do good work? And if you can, which I don't want to apply pressure, but what does it look like?
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll start with saying what I don't think DEI work should look like. And this is personal.
I like this.
Personal. So, I think there's been like a lot of pushback around I think the reason why there's sometimes pushback with DEI work, and just for common language and understanding, we'll just call it DEI work. But the way it's been interwoven is like it's become this shame-based practice of like, you didn't do this right, or like you're failing in this department, or like, and nobody wants to feel that way, right? Like nobody wants to feel like they're doing something wrong. And what DEI work has become is like this kind of like a gotcha or like a punitive way of, like punitive.
I like that word.
And so, so I understand, like, I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to feel like, I don't want someone to tell me that the way I'm used to doing things is suddenly like wrong, and now I'm being labeled maybe a sexist or homophobic or a racist, right? So like those are some really strong language. And so like I think that a lot of firms or like consulting, what a lot of this consulting around DEI has become like, like going into a business or an organization, like doing some, like coming out with tests that are like, you're biased, right? Like everybody's biased. And it's true, we all are, but that's because we all have different lived experiences. But I think the research has shown that those like bias training is not effective. And I can't like go on and on about that, but like I think that when we make this work that makes someone feel shame, I don't think it's gonna be effective. I think for years I've said like DEI work, like we've made it into like, mental work or like literacy work or, and I think it really is like heart work. It's about like, it has to be about like changing people's, like their hearts, opening up their hearts, tuning into compassion. And I think like if we can center our work, our DEI work around compassion, around love, and about like, hey, we're all like in this together kind of mentality, then I think that could transform people and communities in the world.
Facts. I love it. Yes. You share a very similar philosophy to me. Very similar. All right, so y'all are about to get the big dollar stuff right now because I'm not look. Since you do this professionally, this is usually stuff I talk to with professionals about changing their environments or how to address their staffs and stuff like that. But I'm going to say this: the way I sum it up is there's 3 types of practitioners out here that do the work. There are the educators. They know all the terms. They know all the things, right? They can tell you what this letter stands for and what this term means and this and that, but they are educators. So they teach well, but they're not necessarily the people who are moving the needle. They're not necessarily on the front line actually doing the work, right? But they're really good at the educational portion because there is a need for those. And then there are what I call DEI enforcers. Those are your people that come in and they're calling out all the stuff. This is wrong. That's racist. This is you're homophobe. This, that, and that. But they leave a lot of people feeling bad. People who have good intentions, and it's not their fault necessarily that they're unaware, ignorant, unexposed, whatever, however you choose to label that. The last people that I call those are DEI unicorns. To sum it up, DEI unifiers. Those are the people that get it. They bring in people and they are finding the ways to connect and showing them how this affects that, and no one's feeling bad at the end of the day. Like it's about being informed, but feeling good about the fact that you're willing to make the change. Right, or that you're seeking out how the things about the change to learn from it, and you have the right intent, right? And they unify people. They take anybody who's willing to come to the table, no matter how knowledgeable or unknowledgeable they are, and they work with everyone across the board just to move community forward. And so I like what you're saying.
I think DEI work is first and foremost like learning to take care of ourselves, right? So like filling our cups and if every single one of us knew or like could take care of ourselves and took care of ourselves, mind, body, spirit, then it's like the work is being done, right? But then, like once we're filled, then our cup overfloweth. And that's, I think the process is like, we have to fill ourselves first, and that overflows to our community. And then that like ripples. Right. And so, like with the DEI committee, I'm often encouraging everyone by saying, or I hope it's encouraging by saying like, look, you're already doing the work in your spaces, right? So I see like all these pockets of work, like people like faithfully serving in those spaces, like whether it's like, mental wellness, or like in the education system, or like, in indigenous communities, whatever it is, like wherever they're, or like, in their spaces, they're doing the work. And it's like, there's like so much going on, right? And it's like, there's synergy and, so it's like what I do as DEI work looks different from your work, looks different from someone else's work. Absolutely. It's like, there's no, like no one's doing it better. It's like, we're doing it. Right. And we're, affecting change like that.
Well, I will share with you, I actually had someone reach out to me to ask me questions about the committee. And so I think if you can share a little bit about the community, that's a great thing. I'll share where I'm at with things. And this is just my observation. I've been lucky enough, and I didn't start in this space. This is the space that I've come to learn. And what I came to learn was this, and this is by working in Appleton. The difference is Appleton has all of these amazing race-centric, diversity-focused organizations that have been there. They're not new. They didn't just get made. Like, they've been around 20 plus years, right? And they're the ones who actually fundamentally do the work, right? And what that allows is it allows at the other levels, like a government committee or a local government committee, to do the work, because you already have these fundamental support systems in place to be able to work with, who already are connected in the community, are familiar with, and their communities trust, right? Whoever they're representing. I found the challenge in the one that is trying to happen right now in Oshkosh is we're missing those foundational organizations, or even just a foundational organization to be doing the work that really a local government can't do. They're just not set up for it. Yeah. We had Oshkosh Fit at one point, but I think there's space. There's space for that, and I do think before we're really going to move the needle in Oshkosh, we need to figure out how do we help to support some of those kinds of organizations to come and exist, even if they're offshoots of things that exist regionally here. Support them, help them grow, and then we try to move things forward community-wise. Because I just think those grassroots organizations are so important to really being the foundations of change in the things that we're hoping can happen in the community.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I am forever grateful to Tracy Robertson of Fit Oshkosh. She was a groundbreaker in this community.
She tried. Yeah. She definitely put in work.
Yeah. And so I think she came and really started those difficult conversations. And so when I think about this trajectory, or maybe like the arc of where we are right now, it's like she came and like she broke ground, and I think seeds were planted. And so I think they're germinating right now. And I definitely see, whether it's like pockets of people or like a formal organization or whatever it is, like I think a lot of those seeds are germinating, and we're going to start to see some things popping up. And and also just like, how do we build up the spaces within corporations and within organizations, like current organizations, and in all those spaces, like how do we build up that like that DEI pocket in those spaces as well?
What is, if you can share, well, I guess you can share because it's public record. It's government.
You can read my emails.
Wait, I've learned a lot since working in the public realm. what is the committee currently? What's the hopes in the near future? Is there anything on the horizon that's kind of in the works? If that can be shared, or anything helpful, because I do think there is a true curiosity by our community about what's going on with the committee.
Yeah.
They just, I know it's out there, and I know you can go watch a video if you want to, but let's be honest, people don't typically, only the hardcore do that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is all public. Currently, here are some of the things we're working on. We are working on a strategic plan. So as part of the ordinance, as part of what we've been assigned as a committee, is to write a strategic plan that addresses and advises on issues of health, housing, and economic mobility. Of course, as we've said, like DEI intersects with every city department, right? Like any city function, like DEI needs and is like part of that. So we've started the strategic plan with those areas of like, okay, what are some goals? What are some metrics behind those goals and indicators? So I'll be honest, like that's not my forte. That's not what I enjoy, but I see the need for that as well. And like when you talk about metrics, like and accountability, right? So, so we've got the strategic plan that we're working on, but we're also expanding and we're planning for a community event. So our first community event, it's sponsored by the city and
Now we're talking.
Yeah. So our first community event will be the Oshkosh Harvest Moon Festival, and that will be September 2023.
Okay.
So, like when we think of a multicultural event, okay, Timber, the first thought that comes to me is like a middle school World Expo fair, right? Where it's like,
Bruh.
right? So like you have like booths of like different countries or continents. Like, yes, that's a starting point, right? But how do we elevate this conversation? Like, how do we bring in bigger themes and ideas and show ways through art and through music of our connections and like create a beautiful shared experience? Yes. So that will be, and the Harvest Moon is especially important to me because in Korea, it's a very revered holiday. It's a time of Thanksgiving, right? It's the harvest, and in Western, in our culture, like that's a time of harvest, a time of like reaping what you've sown.
Yeah.
So, and in Korea and in China, I know that like it's like the largest migration. So, like it's like maybe like a 2-week celebration. So it's in what I've grown up with, it's like a revered holiday. And also there's a lot of traditions and rituals that come with it. And of course the food, right? So we're going to create an event. We're just like in the initial planning stages of it right now, where we're bringing in like, I want to bring in the Oshkosh Police Department. I want to bring in the fire department. I want to bring in the libraries, like, like all the resources. And I want to make it a big welcoming party. Right. So, like the first week of September or like the first 2 weeks of September is like National Welcoming Week. So how do we create a city, like how do we create a feeling of belonging? Well, we make an event that's around welcoming our, newcomers to our community.
Yeah. And even those who have really been long time people to the community.
Yeah. And that says like, you belong here.
What I like about what you're saying, I like what you're saying. I think that I love when you're talking about bringing in these different departments who are local government. My thing is this, where the win is in demystification. When things are explained or when things are tangible, like I can interact. And so the demystification of like local government for different communities, people of color, other marginalized communities, so they can just see like these are just people like me and they're here to serve us and they're working hard and stuff like that, like the demystification of that opportunity, I think is such a win. And and if that's incorporated into this programming, along with, of course, food. I just think there's that there sounds like something like the committee is on the right path for what they're thinking.
I hope so.
No, that's it.
Yeah. We've been involved with the Chief Oshkosh project, the Chief Oshkosh statue at Menominee Park. And we've also, like put an input around like DORA, the current like designated outdoor recreation area. So, where we see that people from marginalized communities might be affected, our part of our role is to advise in those on those issues.
Is there still space on the committee for people who might listen to this episode and say, "Oh, I didn't even realize Oshkosh had this committee. How can I get involved?"
Yeah. So,
or is there still space, or is it full? Because that's a thing.
Yeah, I think we just filled a seat, and a quick shout out to Juliana. I'm really excited for her to join our committee. She was like my first recruit. She's a college student here. And so I'm excited that we're going to have that voice represented.
Did Juliana grow up here?
Yes.
Yeah, she's if this is the Juliana who I think it is, because she was in my daughter's Kicking It group. I know Juliana. She done been at the crib eating food and whatnot. No. Pretty sure it might be the same person.
All right. Yeah. I think there's an alternate seat open.
Okay.
Yeah. And so someone would just need to go to the city website and apply.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to Juliana.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's awesome. That's good to know. Okay. Anything else you'd like to share?
Around DEI or?
Yeah.
No. I mean, yes, there's always going to be something, but this is a good place.
This went hard.
Up. Yeah.
It went hard. It covered a lot of ground. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, then, from here, Kosh listeners, you know what time it is. It is that time we start wrapping it up. Thank you for spending this time with us and sharing, your mind to listen to this conversation with us. We appreciate it always here at the Kosh. And as you know, we are a work in progress. We are always looking to get better. We are always looking to include your voice. So please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out at us at askthekosh@gmail.com. Once again, that is askthekosh@gmail.com. Once again, the door is always open. Kosh listeners, you can send shout outs. You can send us voicemail. Let us know. You can ask us a question that we will respond to. We are more than happy to. We just want interaction from the community. It's that simple. So if you would like to do that, our phone number is 920-385-9298. Once again, that is 920-385-9298. And you know how I always like to wrap this up. You know what? It is almost the end. I feel like we're coming to the end of Farmers Market. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the best gear ever for the Farmers Market. That is the Kosh gear. That is, nothing says I'm local and I support local than the Kosh t-shirts and the Kosh hat. We have those available. Please do not hesitate. Reach out to us, email us, let us know if you are interested in getting one of those. And for those who have them, thank you for proudly wearing them. I see y'all and I hear the good stories. You know what? If you put on the Kosh hat or the Kosh t-shirt, someone's likely to walk up to you and ask you either what is the Kosh, or they're going to say, I listen to the Kosh, and they're going to have something to say about that, which is an awesome conversation starter. So thank you again. And now we're about the real stuff. This is where the good stuff really does happen. And if you don't know Angie, let me tell you about it's my favorite part of the show. It is shout out time.
Shout out time.
That's right. So
right.
It's your opportunity, girl. What you got?
Oh gosh. Okay, so I've got a lot. First, I'd like to give a shout out to my family, my kids, my co-parent, my partner, amazing people in my life. I want to give a shout out to the teachers. Teachers, heroes. They are the heroes of our community. Good luck on this year. Thank you for what you do. The professors at UWO,
Facts.
starting another year, props to them on building up our intellectual capital, right? I want to give a shout out to people in our community that are doing really good work, like Chris Larson, Mayor Lori Palmieri. Congratulations to Marlo and Manila. They're about to celebrate their 10-year anniversary next weekend. And just, my friends Julia and Jason for always sharing your harvest with me. Thank you for nourishing me with your food. I want to give a shout out to the DEI committee for all their hard work and their time and energy. And to Juliana, welcome to the committee.
You came ready. I love it. You came ready. Yeah. That's how shout outs is supposed to be done. Bring that list. Shout out everybody. Okay, that is fantastic. Okay, this week's shout outs I have, actually for me, my list is short, but I'm going to go ahead. First of all, I'm going to shout out once again the Oshkosh Jazz Fest committee and anyone associated with it and any of the sponsors that were there to support it. Just period. It was an amazing event. I had a blast. Me and the wife had a great time. I danced a little bit in the streets. I saw a lot of good people there and had good conversation. It was just, for a community event, it really left me with the warm fuzzies. And there's a lot to be said for that. So I appreciate y'all. Big shout out to my partner in crime, Kayla, at the Boys and Girls Club in Fox Cities. Girl, you be grinding. You do that work. So I appreciate you and everything that you're doing. I partnered with her for a project recently working with Imagine Fox Cities. And let me just say, she definitely played Jordan while I played Pippen. And I'm glad that it was as such. All right. Big shout out to Scotty over there at Jensen's. Thank you for always holding us down. Once again, Jensen's is becoming the church of choice for Timber and the wife. We are feeling Jensen. So thank you, Scotty, for holding us down. Big shout out to my man Greg. My man Greg was used to be living in Oshkosh. He was here for tragic reasons, but nonetheless, he took a little time out of his visit to visit the family. And sometimes how when there's certain people in your world that even though you may not see them for a decade, the minute you see them, it all connects. It's not like we missed a beat. It felt right. It felt warm. It felt like family. It felt like a true friend. So shout out to my man, Greg. And last but not least, shout out to Dr. Alicia Johnson. Big shout out to you. She was a partner in crime in this project that I did. Also, I appreciate her as the interim chief diversity officer at UW Oshkosh. She be grinding. She be doing that work. Yeah. She's just a good person. She works hard. And just want you to know I appreciate what you're doing out here. All right. We are at the final part of the show, and you get a choice.
Okay.
All right. So you get options A, B, or C. Option A is parting words of wisdom. You can share some parting words of wisdom that you may have. B, you can tell us what would yourself today share with your 12-year-old self. And then C, option C is both. All of the above. Okay, how are we getting down?
Okay, I'm going to go with A. So my parting wisdom, I'm going to quote Grace Lee Boggs, change yourself to change the world. So what that means to me is living, breathing, and imagining our highest selves, and then having that ripple out to our families, our communities, and the world.
That was baller. And appreciated. What'd you think?
That was good. I was like, the whole time. I was like excited, and it's like a roller coaster. Love it.
The gosh.